Okay, let's unpack this. We are diving into a monumental proposal today.
A really big one.
It's a philosophical and scientific expansion that's coming out of Indonesia. It's called Trialism Luluk.
And the mission is incredibly ambitious. The claim is that it can solve the modern crisis of meaning.
By completing a framework that's, 400 years old?
Exactly. René Descartes' framework.
So Descartes' dualism, that's the foundation for, everything in modern science, right?
Pretty much. It gave us the two pillars. The first one is the physical world, the world of matter.
What they call res extensa, R1.
Right. Think of it as the hardware. That's your physics, your industry.
And the second pillar?
That's the world of the mind. Cognition. Res cogitans. R2.
And that's the software, the basis for cognitive science, psychology, and now AI.
Exactly. But here's the problem, the vacuum that dualism created, and this is what the sources really hone in on.
Go on.
You have R1 and R2, and they can get you to incredible technological peaks. I mean, look around us. But there's no structured, measurable space for things like value or conscience or, genuine purpose.
Which is why we're still stuck on things like the hard problem of consciousness.
And what they call the meaning collapse, this feeling of a collective loss of direction. Dualism, it has no answer for that.
So this is where Luluk Sumiarso steps in.
With this framework from Nusantara, yeah.
He proposes a third intrinsic pillar, res intrinsica, R3.
Defined as intrinsicality, or meaning awareness.
So what does that actually look like in practical terms?
Well, R3 is positioned as the source of universal ethics. Purpose. If R1 is the hardware, and R2 is the software.
And R3 is the kernel.
The kernel, Intai-tu-kron. It's the core directive that guides the whole system toward its genuine meaning, its hakiki meaning.
But calling meaning a pillar of science, that's an extraordinary claim, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, Conscio-Science, the field that maps R3, they're claiming this is a whole third science. How can you measure meaning? How can you falsify it?
That's the question, yeah.
Doesn't that just blur the lines right back into metaphysics?
Well, the parallel they draw is with quantum physics around 1900. They argue R3 is a foundational emergence.
A new domain.
An entirely new domain. It needs new tools to map it, totally separate from physical science or cognitive science. They're saying that meaning itself is an observable structural reality.
Wow, a cosmic structure.
That can be mapped.
Okay, so the test for any new science is application. Where does Conscio-Science point its new lens first?
The sources jump right to AI governance.
That makes sense.
I mean, right now we're trying to program ethical AI using only R2 data, right?
Which is just statistical, it's biased, it's unstable.
Exactly. And what's so fascinating here is R3's potential. It offers a stable ethical anchor by integrating res intrinsica.
You could program AI based on universal intrinsical ethics.
Yes. And that fundamentally changes how we judge truth. It moves the whole ethical debate out of, opinion polls.
It also gives us a totally different way to diagnose social crises.
A completely different lens.
When we see polarization, social collapse, we usually blame R1 things, like economics.
Or R2 things, like media narratives and propaganda.
But Conscio-Science says the primary diagnosis is a collapse of meaning, an R3 problem.
It's a failure of collective purpose. So fixing it requires rebuilding what they call meaning architecture, not just tweaking the economy.
Which is why they call for this major shift in education.
From thinking skill R2 to meaning skill R3.
So that future leaders can practice, what was the term?
God public governance. Decisions rooted in purpose, in hakiki meaning, that come before just raw efficiency.
So to sum it all up, Conscio-Science and Trialism Luluk are being presented as a kind of knowledge gift.
A gift from Nusantara, yeah. Inviting the whole world to finally move beyond 400 years of dualism.
And to formally integrate res intrinsica into universal science.
It's an invitation into what they call Zona 6.0, the era of meaning.
That is a deep dive. So here's a final thought. If R3 meaning, purpose, universal ethics, if that can truly be scientifically mapped as a structural reality, what responsibility does that put on you to actively integrate meaning skills into every decision you make, from the technology you design to the public policies you support? That's something to contemplate long after the hardware powers down.